Hello everybody, this is your Uncle Guga coming here with a review of Disney's Zootopia. Uh, Going into this movie, my expectations were kind of low. I have not been that impressed by Disney's or Pixar's latest movies. Big Hero 6 was fine, nothing that amazing. Frozen, yeah, it's fine, but it's very overrated in my opinion. So going into this movie, I was kind of skeptic. My friend though told me this movie actually was great and very surprising. And I gotta say, I agree with him. This was a surprise. I was blown away about how much fun I actually had about Zootopia. With Zootopia, that's the name of the movie, and actually how clever the symbolism were, and how clever uh, the pop culture reference also were in this movie. The movie is about a little bunny called Judy Hopps, and she's the first bunny to ever get to be a police officer. And she's working on a case where about the disappearing otter, and she has to get help from a sly fox named Nick Wilde. And that is kind of what I want to tell you about. I don't want to say more than that, but I'm gonna say this. The movie is beautiful. It is really beautiful. I mean, yes, most animated movies looks really good, but Zootopia had a very beautiful, engrossing world. You really saw how they created different areas. You know, you have the desert, you have the big city landscape, you have the snowy parts like the Alps of it, and I really liked how they built up the world and really made it uh, like they had all different continents from our own world in the movie, and it made for a really beautiful, engrossing world. Uh, and Judy Hopps as a character, I really liked her. She was optimistic, but in a good way. She was not like over the top optimistic, uh, but she really felt like she was grounded optimistic. She had over the course of the film, she always has the hopes up, no pun intended. But at the same time, she also sees the challenges and the differences and really has a harsh time doing what she's doing. But she's really great as a character. Then of course we have the fox with Nick Wilde played by Jason Bateman. Uh, I thought he was great. He really was. He's a very funny character, but also he has a background story that makes you care for him and makes his motivation. It's all very interesting. Uh, One character that I didn't really like is the main villain of the story. The main villain of the story was very like it was like it's supposed to be kind of a surprise, but it isn't. I felt like, oh, really? They went that route? Kind of seen that before, and that is probably the only real fault I can see with Zootopia. It does have its cliches and very traditional themes throughout it, but it also does some very new, interesting things. Like I said, the symbolism in this movie, where we have racial symbolism and underclass symbolism, it's brought to the screen very well, and maybe not as subtle as it could have been, but in a very good way, and you really can relate to the characters more because of that symbolism being there. I really like seeing that in a kids movie as it's supposed to be, because that makes that me, who ain't 8 years old anymore, can enjoy the movie in other ways that maybe kids couldn't. Uh, and like I said, the pop culture reference were spot on in this movie. I will not spoil like what the references are, but they were amazing. I cracked a real high laugh to it, and overall, the humor in this movie felt very more. Yeah, I wouldn't say adult or grown up, but it felt not as kiddie as we're used to, and I really liked that too. I really had a funny time comedic wise also with this movie, and another thing that I thought this movie did great is that they set up this case because most animated movies there is a problem and they need to solve it, and the characters needs to solve the problem. Uh, that happens in most movies, of course. There's a conflict and we need to solve the conflict. But in this movie, they went a different route for being a kids movie. They went to more detective adventure instead of being this like super fancy action adventure where someone learns a lesson. It was more like a detective story the first half of the movie, which I thought was really cool. I really liked seeing Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde work as detectives throughout the big city of Zootopia. That was a really cool idea, and it was brought to the screen very well. And also the friendship that grows between them. And I was also like, now I'm talking a little fast. What I also like about the friendship between these characters, Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps, is that it doesn't necessarily feel like they're aiming for romance, which they often do, or they tend to do that in animation movies. It feels like they are just friends, okay? They're never meant to be anything more than that. They're companions, and they friendship grows bigger and bigger throughout the movie, and they learn to understand each other more and more. And that was really good, actually. It surprised me how much this movie actually related, how much I could relate to the movie's themes and characters, and that's great. That's really great. Uh, one thing that was kind of unfortunate is that the sloth scene was spoiled from trailers, which in a way it's kind of sad because that scene overall is really funny. It's just that we've seen that scene now in trailers and overall, so it didn't have the same impact that it could have had. But overall, Zootopia was a blast, and it surprised me very much, and pleasant so. And my final words on the movie is gonna be that Zootopia is a beautiful, engrossing world where a fine, funny, action detective adventure waits, filled with solid voice acting, symbolism, and pop culture reference. My final score for the movie is gonna be an 8 out of 10. I think that this is a movie I definitely going to rewatch in the future, and I actually think there's a bright future for this movie. I think that movies like Big Hero 6 and such, they are kind of getting forgotten already, but I feel that Zootopia actually has a bright future ahead of it, and yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by how great the movie turned out to be. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course subscribe if you want more content of mine, and leave a nice comment if you feel for doing that, and bye bye.